This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there, it's Jeff Cutastrophe. Welcome you to another sports catastrophe on this date. And on this date, October the 8th, in the year 1995, the Seattle Mariners made one of the greatest plays ever. As Edgar Martinez made one of, if not the greatest hit in Seattle Mariners history. So it's the 1995 playoffs. The first time in baseball history that there would be a wild card in the playoffs. So baseball went to 6 divisions instead of 4 in 1994 and made it that the 3 division winners and the top team that did not win the division by record would get in to the playoffs. 14 playoffs, best of 5 first round, and then it would be best of 7 for the the LCS, the World Series. Unfortunately, it failed because of the players and owners strike in 94. However, 95, they got the season off, and it worked out perfectly. The Seattle Mariners were fighting the California Angels for the AL West title. The Angels had basically it wrapped up. Unfortunately, DiSarcina went down, and they faltered down the stretch. Seattle overtook them, but strange as it sounded, Seattle needed to sweep their opponents. No, it was Anaheim needed to sweep their opponents, and Seattle needed to win one game to win the division. That failed on the final weekend. That means that we go to a one-game playoff at the Kingdome in Seattle. And thanks to Randy Johnson's smart pitching, the Mariners crushed the Angels 9-1. Let's not forget Luis Sojo's Little League Grand Slam, if you will. So the Mariners would take on the New York Yankees, who were the wild card team in all of this. The Red Sox were the AL East champions in 95. People forget about that. So the Red Sox would take on Cleveland in the first round in the ALDS. But Boston got their butts handed to them 3 straight by Cleveland, who were 144. So they won 100 games but lost 44. That's a pretty impressive mark. Imagine. Do you think maybe they might have won 110 games in a full 162? Probably. Anyway, the 95 ALDS. The other one, Seattle and New York. The strange thing was that they went with a 2-3 format. The first 2 games would be played at a certain stadium, and then 3 straight games at another team stadium. So games 1 and 2 were played at Yankee Stadium, despite the fact that the Mariners were the better seed because of their division win. However, Seattle faltered twice. Don Mattingly hit a few big home runs, and let's not forget Jim Leyritz in the 15th inning off of Tim Belcher to win the game for the Yankees. It looked like it was doomed for Seattle. Their first playoff series in history would be all but forgotten. They had to go through Game 3 on a Friday night in Seattle, which they won because Randy Johnson was able to pitch. And then Game 4, Saturday evening, October the 7th, was a tough one. But the Yankees thought they had it. They were winning 6-3, and then all of a sudden Seattle came back to win thanks to an Edgar Martinez grand slam in the 8th of John Wetland. Why would you use your closer right there in the 8th inning? Should have waited till the 9th. But anyway, Edgar Martinez's 2 home runs, well, including the grand slam, made it 10-6, and the Mariners went on to win 12-8. That sets up Game 5. When Seattle taking on the Yankees. It was a tough thing and all that. Now, there was problem in the background for Seattle. There were rumors that the ownership group would sell or relocate the team to a different city because low attendance revenue and basically the Kingdome was beginning to fall apart. Mariners games had to be rescheduled, and Seahawks games had to be rescheduled in the Kingdome. So anyway, Seattle just couldn't believe their luck. In September 1995, King County voted against a sales tax increase to have a building a replacement stadium. So the ownership group said by October 30th, local leadership had to come up with a plan to finance a new stadium or the team would be put up for sale. Seattle made a great job and all that. So anyway, it is Game 5. The Yankees had a 4-2 lead thanks to Don Mattingly's 2 RBI double in the 6th. Then in the bottom of the 8th, Ken Griffey came up and rocked one to right field. That was gone. That was the 5th time he victimized the Yankees in that playoff series, tying Reggie Jackson's record for most home runs in a postseason series with 5, and that was when Reggie did it in the 77 World Series, including his last 3 swings of the 77 World Series. Unfortunately, Buck Showalter did not take David Cone out of the game when he needed to. Cone was lagging, and a few terrible at-bats later, the Yankees had given up the lead. It was 4-4. Thankfully, though, the Yankees bullpen worked well. And then in the 11th inning, the Yankees scored off Randy Johnson. So they made it 5-4. Jack McDowell was staying in the game to relieve, and he would face Joey Cora, Ken Griffey Jr., and Edgar Martinez in the batter order. Cora dragged a bunt down the first base line and somehow slid around the tag of Don Mattingly to get to first base. The Yankees argued that Cora should have been out for running outside the baseline, that little box baseline, but no, he was clearly in. Griffey would hit a single to get Cora to third base, and then Edgar Martinez came up. All that. Now, I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, so I'm going to basically just give you the Brett Musburger call for ABC. You know, NBC and ABC doing the baseball network stuff, and ABC getting games 3, 4, and 5. So here's what Musburger did. No balls to strike to Martinez. Line drive, we are tied. Griffey is coming around. In the corner is Bernie. He's going to try to score. Here's the division championship. Mariners win it. Mariners win it. Of course, Musburger made a mistake because it wasn't Bernie Williams in left field. It was Gerald Williams. Bernie was playing center field. So Seattle won the game. They took care of the Yankees and we're going to the ALCS. Despite Cleveland beating the tar out of them in the ALCS, Seattle, in a way, won. They won their first playoff series in history, and they had a lot of things. However, the problem was that, would the team stay in Seattle? The answer is yes. Seattle's fan base was back to life and sparked a desire to keep the team in town. After the events of October the 8th, Washington State Legislature held a special session and approved an alternate funding package to build the ballpark and not really punish the taxpayers. And it worked. In 1999, Safeco Field was built. Well, it's now T-Mobile Field, but it saved baseball in Seattle. They were headed. Baseball in the Pacific Northwest would be back and all that. The city of Seattle actually named a street named the T-Mobile Park Edgar Martinez Drive because of, the devil that saved baseball in Seattle. Griffey did his job and all that. In fact, Griffey's slide into home plate was the inspiration behind the 1996 video game titled Ken Griffey Jr.'s Winning Run, which me and my buddy played constantly. Unfortunately for the Yankees, this would be a blip, although Buck Showalter would be fired for his mismanagement, replaced by Joe Torre, and Don Mattingly did not play in the 96 season. He should have, because he would have won a World Series ring. Ironically enough, the Yankees would take Tino Martinez away from Seattle And he was part of the team in '96 that won the World Series under Joe Torre. It was weird how Tino would go from Seattle to Toronto. And not to the Yankees. You know what I mean, right? It was just unbelievable. That was one of the best games in Seattle Mariners history. Still is. And 27 years later, they're trying to take care of the Toronto Blue Jays and get to the ALDS. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond.